Karen demands my seat, insisting she'd reserved it. I posted last night about an encounter I'd had with a neckbeard who tapped me on the shoulder, asked me if I was single and then flipped out when I said no. I mentioned that I'd dealt with a Karen not 20 minutes before that and would post that story if folks were interested, so here it is. In my other post, I explained that I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a genetic disorder affecting collagen. Among many other symptoms, it tends to make people look significantly younger than we are, so although I'm 32 years old, I'm often mistaken for being a teenager. I dress in a very goth/punk style, which I'm sure probably adds to that. EDS often causes something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which, in simple terms, means that being upright causes my heart rate to increase and my blood pressure to decrease, and the longer I'm standing, the worse it gets. If I'm standing for too long, I black out. I take medication that helps a lot, but I've had to stop taking it in order to get the Rona vaccine, so my heart rate and blood pressure are completely uncontrolled. ATM. I just arrived at my local shopping mall and got hit with a wave of dizziness, which is a surefire sign that I need to sit down before I fall down. There were 3 armchairs together for customers to use, and I sat down in one that had an abandoned, empty shopping trolley next to it. The other 2 seats were occupied. I checked my numbers with the blood pressure monitor I carry with me, and they were pretty bad. BP of 105/68 and HR of 138 BPM, so I downed a few salt tablets and started scrolling through Reddit on my phone while I waited for things to improve. About 2 minutes later, the wild Karen appeared. ETA, Karen matched the stereotype in every conceivable way and looked to be 45 to 50 years old. She marched over and barked at me to get out of her seat, claiming she clearly left her trolley next to it to reserve it. I told her the seats are there for everyone's use and people leave empty trolleys all over the shopping center, so that really didn't mean anything. During previous disputes about seating, I've sometimes told people I couldn't move anyway because of my BP/HR condition, but it's never seemed to help the situation and is none of their business, so I don't tend to mention it unless it's genuinely necessary. Karen, hand on hip, said she didn't ask for my idiot opinions and that when an adult tells me to jump, the only acceptable response is how high. I laughed and said, "Lady, I'm 32 years old and I don't answer to you. Leave me the hell alone." She scoffed and said, "Bullshit. Don't you dare lie to me. Where the bloody hell are your parents?" I said that's none of her damn business and to stop harassing me because I'm not moving. As I was saying this, an older man vacated one of the other armchairs with a groan and an eye roll. "You and me both, mate." So I gestured to it and said, "There you go. Karen, there's a free seat right there. Happy now?" Karen folded her arms and, with an entirely misplaced air of superiority, said, "That's your seat. This one is mine and you are going to move, young lady." Entirely done with her shit, I laughed and said a simple no, going back to my phone. At this point, she pretty much lost it. She shouted, "Get your fat arse out of my fucking chair," and kicked the side of the seat hard enough to make me jump. As I responded with a stunned, "Wow, you're legitimately crazy, aren't you?" A member of the cleaning staff took notice and came over. She told Karen to calm down and asked me if I needed her to call security. I was going to say yes please, but Karen jumped in and snapped, "Please do." And then, to me, "I would love to see security drag you out by your ear." He must have been nearby because a security guard quickly appeared and asked me what the problem was. Of course, Karen again jumped in and started telling him that this stroppy little brat had pushed her out of her seat and stolen it from her, and how it was clearly hers because that's my trolley right there. The security guard turned to me and asked if that was what had happened. I said, "Actually, like I told her, I'm 32 years old and she didn't show up until after I'd sat down. She said she'd reserved the seat and I told her that's not how it works. She's been harassing me to get me to move and your colleague here saw her shouting and kicking the chair." Karen gasped and with an accusational pointed finger, shouted, "You lying little bitch," but the cleaner backed me up. The security guard calmly told Karen that she can't claim or reserve seats she's not using and that if she wanted to sit down, there were now 2 free seats right there. The third person had now also left. Karen went red in the face and barked back, "Listen here, you will make her move or I will be having words with your manager." The security guard sighed and told Karen that she had 2 options. Either she could walk away now, leave me alone and be allowed to get on with her day, or he would be escorting her out of the shopping mall. Surprisingly, Karen actually went with the third option. She scoffed and stammered and eventually opted to shout about how unfucking believable this all was and that she was going to the center management's office to get the security guard and the cleaner fired right fucking now, and stormed off without her empty trolley. Of course, the security guard let her leave and unfortunately, I don't know what happened with her after that point. The security guard apologized to me for her behavior and I told him it wasn't his fault and that I was sorry he and the cleaner had to deal with shit like that too. He excused himself, saying he should probably follow her to make sure she made it to the center manager's office without any further incidents along the way, and I chatted with the cleaner a bit about how ridiculous and childish people can be. She told me this was far from the worst or weirdest she'd seen and that I wouldn't believe the shit some people do, but didn't elaborate. A plus side was that the whole situation had aided in increasing my blood pressure, so I sat there for about another 10 minutes to let my heart rate level out and was then able to get up and carry on with my day. If I see that security guard while I'm at the shops this afternoon, I'll be sure to ask him what happened and update this post. Edited.